Brian Thompson, a titan of the healthcare industry, was dead, gunned down on a crowded Manhattan street. His killer, authorities alleged, was Luigi Mangione, a man with a grudge against the system Thompson represented. Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, was attending a conference. He was walking with colleagues when the shots rang out, the December air filled with screams and the smell of gunpowder. Thompson, struck multiple times, crumpled to the pavement. Witnesses described a chaotic scene, people scattered in terror. Some tried to help Thompson, but it was too late. He died before paramedics arrived. The gunman, they said, disappeared into the fleeing crowd. 5 days later, the FBI tracked Mangione to a motel in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He was arrested without incident. In his possession, they found a handgun, the same caliber as the murder weapon, ballistics would later confirm. The state of New York didn't waste time. They charged Mangione with second-degree murder, 11 counts in total, including criminal possession of a weapon. The evidence, prosecutors said, was overwhelming. Security footage captured the shooting. Witnesses identified Mangione. Mangione, represented by attorney Karen Friedman Agnifilo, pleaded not guilty. Agnifilo, known for her fierce defense of clients, promised a vigorous defense. She hinted at Mangione's mental state, suggesting a possible insanity plea. The trial, if it went that far, promised to be a media spectacle. Thompson's murder sent shockwaves through the corporate world. The healthcare industry mourned its fallen leader, and the public grappled with the senselessness of it all. But the state charges were only half the story. The federal government, it turned out, had its own plans for Luigi Mangione. On April 1, 2025, Attorney General Pam Bondi dropped a bombshell. The Justice Department, she announced, would seek the death penalty against Mangione. The charges: murder with a firearm and interstate stalking. The federal indictment painted a chilling picture. Mangione, they alleged, had stalked Thompson for months, driven by a deep-seated hatred of the healthcare industry. Mangione, they claimed, blamed Thompson and United Healthcare for his family's financial struggles. The decision to seek death sent shockwaves through the legal community. It was the first such case under the Trump administration, and it signaled a renewed embrace of capital punishment at the federal level. Bondi, a staunch conservative and longtime death penalty supporter, defended her decision. This was not a mere murder, she argued. It was a calculated assassination of a prominent CEO, a man targeted for his role in a system Mangione despised. Pam Bondi's stance on the death penalty was no secret. She had made it a cornerstone of her political career. As Florida's Attorney General, she had overseen numerous executions, and she had consistently advocated for its expanded use. Upon her appointment as U.S. Attorney General, Bondi wasted no time. She ordered a review of all pending federal death penalty cases that had languished under the previous administration, cases she believed deserved a swift resolution. Bondi's critics, however, saw her actions as a return to a dark chapter in American justice. They argued that the death penalty was cruel and unusual punishment, that it disproportionately targeted minorities and the poor, and that it did nothing to deter crime. Section 5. A Tale of Two Penalties. The federal government's decision to seek death added a layer of complexity to Mangione's case. New York, where the murder occurred, had abolished capital punishment. If convicted on the state charges, Mangione faced a maximum sentence of life in prison. But the federal government operated under a different set of laws. Laws that allowed for the ultimate punishment. Laws that Bondi and her allies believed were necessary to dispense justice in the most heinous of crimes. The disparity between state and federal law highlighted the patchwork nature of capital punishment in the United States. A system where one's fate could hinge on the jurisdiction in which a crime occurred. A system that critics argued was arbitrary and unfair. Mangione's case, it seemed, would become a battleground in the ongoing debate over the death penalty. A test case for the Trump administration's renewed embrace of capital punishment, and a stark reminder of the life and death stakes involved. Section 6. A Lawyer's Outrage. Karen Friedman Agnifilo, Mangione's attorney, didn't mince words. She called the Justice Department's decision to seek death barbaric and a travesty of justice. She accused Bondi of grandstanding and playing to her base. Agnifilo vowed to fight the death penalty with everything she had. She argued that Mangione was mentally ill and undeserving of such a cruel and unusual punishment. She promised to present evidence of his troubled past, of his struggles with mental health, and of his deep-seated resentment of the healthcare industry. Agnifilo's impassioned defense of her client resonated with death penalty opponents. They saw Mangione as a victim of a system that too often targeted the vulnerable. They rallied to his cause, organizing protests and demanding clemency. Section 7. Echoes of Executions Past. The federal death penalty had a long and controversial history. It had been abolished and reinstated numerous times, and it had been the subject of countless legal challenges and moral debates. During the Trump administration's first term, 13 federal executions were carried out, the most in over a century. Trump, a vocal supporter of capital punishment, had made it clear that he believed some crimes warranted the ultimate punishment. The Biden administration, however, had taken a different approach. Attorney General Merrick Garland had imposed a moratorium on federal executions, and President Biden had commuted the sentences of 37 of the 40 people on federal death row to life in prison, without parole. Bondi's decision to seek death in the Mangione case represented a sharp reversal of the Biden administration's policies. It signaled a return to a more aggressive use of capital punishment and raised questions about the future of the death penalty in the United States. Section 8. A Nation Divided. Public opinion on the death penalty remained sharply divided. Polls showed that support for capital punishment had been declining in recent years, but a significant segment of the population still believed it was a just punishment for certain crimes. The Mangione case reignited the debate. Supporters of the death penalty argued that Mangione deserved to die for his crimes, that he had taken a life and should pay the ultimate price. They pointed to the brutality of Thompson's murder and argued that anything less than death would be a miscarriage of justice. Opponents of capital punishment countered that the death penalty was morally wrong, that it did not deter crime, and that it carried the risk of executing the innocent. They argued that Mangione should spend the rest of his life in prison, but that his life should not be taken by the state. Section 9. Mangione's Fate, A Crossroads of Justice. As Luigi Mangione awaited trial, his fate hung in the balance. Would he face a jury in New York, or would the federal government succeed in its bid to try him for his life? The answer, it seemed, would have far-reaching implications. The Mangione case had become a flashpoint in the ongoing national debate over the death penalty. It had exposed the deep divisions in American society over issues of crime and punishment, and it had raised profound questions about the role of the justice system in a democracy. One thing was certain: the outcome of Mangione's case would reverberate far beyond the walls of the courtroom. It would shape the debate over capital punishment for years to come, and serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of our nation's ongoing struggle with the death penalty.